through a couple of updates, update you on the roadmap, some product updates, and then dive into all of your questions. So with no further ado, I'm going to go through and just give you a quick update on our roadmap. The roadmap has been pushed back a little bit due to some extensions in development time and additional features we're adding. If you have access to the Notion roadmap, you'll be able to go and see this live now. This has all been updated this week. And if you don't know where the roadmap or the public roadmap link is, one of the community members will be able to share that with you. There's a frequent update that gives you where all the resources are. So dive in here. This is always maintained in Notion. And as we start releasing things, each of these tickets will be updated with documentation. And development's going really well, and I'm just going to kind of like dive into where things are in a moment. So roadmap update. Next thing is Rob, who's on our team, launched with Zach the Tier 1 Ambassador Program. I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Tier 2 is coming probably in March. So I know that a few of you have already been selected, and those of you that are coming in the next batch will be notified probably beginning to middle of March next month as we begin to onboard and ramp up new people. So Ambassador Program is going, and second tier is coming soon. So if you weren't selected for the first tier, it's likely that you'll potentially get something in the second round. Yeah, so roadmap update here. We'll repost the link to it. Again, here is a snapshot of the roadmap. And then Ambassador Program right now is going to be going live for the second batch in March. I'll keep moving forward. Within our releases, we have a release coming out early next week that will be delivered through our developer documentation. I know that some people that are already running nodes last year are familiar with the developer documentation. We have a new node UI that is embedded in the Masa node repo. I'm just going to quickly open this up to show you where everything is. If you navigate to where the node is, please bear in mind that some of this documentation will not be updated until over the weekend. So if you're keen to run the node and the node UI, it may not function correctly until documentation is updated for Monday. But one of our core engineers has built out this fantastic Dockerized UI to interact with the protocol. It's spun up when you actually run the node, so you get both the node spun up and connecting to the testnet, as well as a fully functioning UI that allows you to interact with our staking smart contract. Not all features yet are launched. We'll be moving into a rapid phase of iteration and testing over the next couple of weeks, where if you find any bugs and report those, we'll have a bugs reports or bugs rewards pool. And there'll be continued iterations and updates on this. As this does get launched, you'll find all of the documentation in our developer docs. These are in the process of having updates pushed to them at the moment. And there's be information here on the incentivized testnet, how to run the actual node, what different tiers there are on the protocol, and also a reward schedule for the testnet itself. And with that, the testnet rewards pool launches, and that's phase 1. And you'll be able to find more information on the rewards phases in our developer documents. And just so as everyone knows, we're not going to be launching a traditional white paper. Our developer portal will give you all of the information you need to interact and operate on the network. And this will function as our fully fledged white paper through our developer portal. Quickly moving on, we also have a launch of our next release of DevDocs and API, which I just mentioned. The actual API itself is currently not public. We will be making this public over the next week or so, so as developers can start building on the protocol. That means they can submit loans, apply for funding, and then have data processed. So allowing a wide range of ecosystem developers, from Solidity developers, Celo developers, to start building on the protocol, and you'll be able to work within our API to access the platform. This should be skipped. And then the last thing that's coming out is our mobile app. We're pretty well through development at the moment. We've just onboarded some new engineers to help us scale our team. We're now about 16 engineers on our development team. We have lots of supported connections. And today I did want to do a live demo, but I didn't have time. You're able to sign up and create a credit profile. We have connections with FICO in the US. That's with TransUnion and Equifax. We support bank data connections in 7 countries. We're adding alternative data scoring for Android that allows us to create credit scores for anyone globally using mobile phone-based metadata, and specifically emerging markets or underserved people. And then our cryptocurrency connection supports anyone globally. So anyone can sign up, create a financial profile, and we'll then be offering loans and products through partners over the coming month. And we're in the process of onboarding our first initial couple of partners over the next month, and we'll give you more information of those in due course. And then one quick update. I know a lot of people have been asking questions about fundraising. We did actually close a fundraising round in November, December last year. We closed a $3.5 million pre-seed with institutional and angel investors. There's a formal announcement of those investors coming in March through our PR agency. And then we're working on a community allocation for our seed round that we'll be looking at launching in March or April 2022. The timing is legal dependent, and what we're looking at doing is making as much availability for early community members as possible before we go on to do a public sale later on. And there is an investor interest form in Discord. If you would like to be considered for this allocation, please fill that out, and you'll be notified when it's ready. And then the last thing, we're going to give, again, 2,000 Masa tokens to each person who submitted a question for the AMA that was selected today. So those people that submitted questions, and we'll go through them in a moment, will get 2,000 Masa tokens once the protocol goes live. So with no further ado, I will go for the first question. I'm just going to remove some of this highlighting really quickly so it's a little easier to read. There's some funny questions on here. Do I have any pets? I do have some pets, yes. I love cats. Cats are great. I wish I had a Doge. One day I'll have a Doge. Just going to hide this. Okay, so question number 1. Are there any plans to collaborate with the Binance Smart Chain or the Cosmos ecosystem to raise liquidity in the future? So that's a good question. We are currently focused on going to market with Celo. I think most of you know here that we've been pretty involved with the Celo ecosystem. That involvement is continuing to deepen with the Celo Foundation. And we already have quite a significant amount of liquidity capital allocated from our own reserves, investor partners, and also there'll be some contributions looking like they're coming in from the Celo Foundation. So initially we're going to market with Celo, Ethereum, and then exploring other platforms. The great thing about Celo is it will support low transaction fees. And Cosmos, one of our investors, is one of the founders of Cosmos, and it is likely we will support them, but it's currently not on our roadmap. Our intention is to be chain agnostic, which means using connectors to connect to as many chains, but the only 2 we currently have on our roadmap is ETH and Celo at the moment. Next question. In countries with high inflation, taking a loan in a currency equivalent to the dollar is very risky, especially if the income you receive in the local currency. Well, how do we think about that? So that's a really good question. The way the platform is positioned at the moment is that we'll be looking at issuing loans in CUSD or USDC, so Celo USD or USDC. Now, that will be in a country where the exchange rate risk is on the borrower. So we will be positioning in such a way that the borrower understands those risks. And in future, we expect to partner with other stablecoin providers who provide local currencies, and there may be local liquidity pools. But initially, just keeping it simple to support one USD token puts the actual exchange rate risk on the borrower. we're looking at doing B2B borrowing as well, so providing capital to lenders in other markets that then lend to end users. In that instance, once again, the counterparty risk for exchange rate is on the actual lender themselves, and they would have to have hedging instruments or risk-based instruments to mitigate any downside risk of currency depreciation. So it's definitely a problem. That isn't the problem we're trying to solve at the moment. And we're kind of keeping a simple approach to that at this moment in time. It's a complex problem to solve. You can do swap-based currency swaps and various derivatives on protocols. There's a great idea there for another developer to come and build some, currency swaps, but it's not something that we'll focus on doing out of the gate. Next question. What tasks does your project solve? So I'm going to reinterpret that as what is Massa. So I'll quickly go through what Massa is. So Massa, for everyone that's kind of new, or those of you that know it, is a decentralized credit protocol. What we have several components to the platform. We have our Oracle network, which is a forked version of Geth that has a zero-knowledge Java layer that allows for private transactions and private smart contracts, which is live. We're one of the only protocols that actually support zero-knowledge infrastructure at the moment in time, and any of the validators or node operators would be able to experiment with that feature, and we'll be adding the zero-knowledge documentation at some point over the next month so as people can test and play around with it. So we create a decentralized credit score for end users, and with that credit score you can access the next generation of DeFi financial products. And what we really focus on doing is giving a simple user experience through which individuals can link, manage and track their traditional and financial currency accounts. And then we provide an API and set of credit primitives to developers and partners so as they can build on top of our infrastructure. We're launching in 7 countries that have traditional data integrations and plan to support a global market. And we will provide a set of initial loans for end users through our product. But as we scale, we'll be focusing more on onboarding developers who are looking to build credit products through existing applications or new applications on top of our infrastructure and want to tap into our kind of decentralized credit infrastructure. So I hope that answers your question. Next question. With the rapid development of DeFi in the past 2 years, security incidents such as flash loans have occurred frequently. What special safeguards does Masa have in terms of security? So flash loans generally involve collateralized debt, whether that be using Ethereum or other tokenized assets to provide actual counterparty risk in the terms of collateral. For us, we are not using collateralized assets to provide loans. The way that loans are approved is through validator and liquidity provider consensus. So loans are voted on to approve them based on a rating agency or a rating that is applied to a loan and a borrower. And if you want, I can walk through that flow on a whiteboard here at the end. But basically, our platform functions very differently to the platforms that have flash loans. In terms of security, we have a set of validators that all stake and put their stake at risk in that voting process. Those of you that are participating in validation at the moment on the testnet will have the right to participate in validation on the actual mainnet. It will be open, and so long as you have a stake that meets the requirements, you'll be able to validate and approve loans or participate as a developer. By participation as a developer, it means stake tokens, you can access the API, access the infrastructure, and it means you're able to use the platform as well. We are looking at getting security audits when we release our smart contracts, but we're still doing a lot of heavy development, and they will be open sourced, and we will have audits done on our smart contracts when we release those. This is a good question. How does the team imagine cryptocurrency in 2030? So a little under 10 years from now. My vision is that blockchain will form an integral part of every single system that we interact with. Specifically, lending will become a component of every financial product we interact with, whether it be Amazon, whether it be online e-commerce. The way in which lending is able to stimulate financial growth and an economy is just very, very strong. And the more we can do to put capital in the right hands of people is really critical. So, I have strong conviction that blockchain will be embedded in every single product we use. More and more services will move into better user experiences where the actual blockchain itself or the distributed ledger will be abstracted from the user experience. And we will get mass onboarding on the next 10 years, but that will only come from correct product market fit and the best user experience that abstracts away quite a lot of the complexity that we see today still. Why corn for the name of the token? I think that's also going to be blended with question 10, which is why Masa. So Masa is a derivative of corn in actual South America. Masa is what you would make tamales, tacos, tortillas out of. And many civilizations were built on corn and masa. It was one of the most valuable crops many, many years ago. And we believe that Masa is going to be the foundation for a new economy and way of building wealth will be built upon it. And that was the idea and the genesis of Masa. And then corn is a play on the meme of Bitcoin and has mimetic value in terms of how it could spread through community. So that then was tacked on the end. Awesome. Brendan, have you faced any regulatory problems as the project's going to do with crediting? And it's a slippery topic from the point of view of government, at least. Yes, it is. I wouldn't call the regulatory environment slippery. I would say that it's an evolving ecosystem. We are taking a very, very pragmatic approach, quite risk adverse. So what you'll see is we'll be working with regulated lenders who exist within the US. Those regulated lenders will be using our infrastructure, so we'll be data processors for them, and they'll be the ones actively doing the lending. In addition to that, we're getting licensing and entering a sandbox for one of our entities that's launching. That will be happening, I expect, over the next 8 to 10 weeks. And where that regulated entity is, we'll be serving loans only in specific markets. So what you will see on day one is fragmentation of where we're able to offer services. And that fragmentation will consist of a mix of partners who are licensed, for example, operating in the US. So as you come onto the platform, you'll be able to connect all of your bank accounts, crypto accounts, all of your off-chain and on-chain data. And when you apply for a loan, that application won't actually be done or originated by Masa. The loan will be originated by a partner who is licensed in that market. Secondly, in a market where licensing and regulation has been obtained, we may well do that lending ourselves, or again, use a partner in those markets. So we have counsel offshore, we have counsel that has worked with the SEC, and we're continuing to work alongside the SEC in the US. So we're taking a very pragmatic, risk-adverse approach. But what that will mean is on day one, the lending products will look fragmented. And as we gradually go through regulatory hurdles, you'll see more coverage become more uniform across the space. And you'll find more and more developers in their own countries that have their own regulatory regimes will build on the platform to allow origination of loans where we may not have a license, but a partner has a license. And we do have partners like that we're working with that will be coming live on the platform to give full coverage. So I hope that answers that question. What's your personal favorite thing about Masa and its community? I'm not going to talk about what my favorite thing about Masa is because it is my life's work. I've been in the space since 2013 and have built an entire career around lending and fintech. I have another lending company and data processing company, and Masa is driving to decentralize decisioning and credit scoring. The community, I think, is just really engaged, very knowledgeable. I've had a lot of support since I've had my injury earlier in the year, so I think the community is one of the best communities in crypto, constantly growing and adding a lot of value back. There's not too much when moon. There's much more interaction and engagement when we do things like the release of the testnet. When we released the testnet before Christmas, before this next upgrade, we had such overwhelming demand. I think about 400 or 500 people ran nodes. Actually took the system down because there was such high demand. So that's the kind of engagement we're looking for, which is real usage and people actually diving in and providing bug reports, feedback, testing. So it's that kind of engagement that we really love because it alters the platform much, much better. Question: what happens if one of our accounts is hacked? Will that affect my credit score? So I'm going to break this question down. You could say, what happens if my Masa account is hacked and somebody takes it over? We are implementing quite extensive two-factor authentication. You actually can't log on to any of our platforms without using 2FA right now. We have really rigorous data privacy considerations on the back end, which encrypt data at rest and ensure that anything is stored in a compliant way. But at that level, you're responsible for securing your account with 2FA. If it's one of your accounts that are connected, for example, we're thinking of having some kind of arbitration where, as you would in normal credit decisioning, let's say, for example, your credit card has fraud in the real world, in traditional finance, and you see a bad mark on your credit report due to fraud, you would then appeal that with the lender. We're looking at implementing a community-driven appeals or adjudication system where part of governance or governance from the token would vote on those appeals when they come up. And that could be, bad decisions on your credit report. It could be fraud. It could be if your account is hacked. You would be able to go through a distributed arbitration rather than how it is today, which is going to Equifax or TransUnion and having a single centralized institution say yes or no. And once you've got a no, there is no going back on it. So we're going to look at it from a community-governed appeal system. But at the moment, that is not on our roadmap. That will come later in the year. And would love to have some feedback from the community on if that answers your question. Okay. There's another question here about trustworthiness, about accounts getting hacked. I've just answered that again. And the question here is, if my account is hacked, is there a way to remove the one that impacts my score? And like I said, we're looking at replicating what already happens in centralized credit, but with a decentralized governance system. So hopefully that helps answer the question. And obviously those votes in that governance system would be proportional to stake or share in the network. Really excited to kind of test that as a way of remediating and appealing black marks on credit scores. Okay, what are the risks of hacking your platform? And if it's hacked, will users be compensated for the loss? That's a good question. I don't think I've got a good answer for that right now, but protocol 5, we don't have huge amounts of TVL on the network. We will be having an insurance fund, but that insurance fund is generally going to be for defaults. The trend in the space is that hacks get bailed out. I would like to think that we do significant enough audit work that we don't get hacked, but it's something we'll think about as the space evolves. I think this is still an unsolved problem. I would hope that a DeFi protocol comes up with an insurance product that covers the losses of protocols, but that's another idea for a developer out there. are a developer, go out and build a DeFi insurance product that insures DAOs or people like us for losses. I think they could be very profitable. Okay, how are you going to compete with the products? What is your advantage? I'm going to give a quick summary of similar products. We've got in the market lots of people rushing to try and solve uncollateralized lending. We have Spectral Finance, we have Teller, we have Ledger Score, and more that I could list off. They're sort of my favorite ones out there at the moment. What they're tending to do is use on-chain data to provide risk assessment. I actually had a conversation with a discussing this, and our difference is, and it's our core difference, is really the off-chain world with the on-chain world. If you're looking at taking a credit product to market, and we have a lot of experience on the team taking 6 or 7 years, especially with underserved people. The most realistic loan product that could go to market is a semi-collateralized loan, or a loan for a high net worth crypto individual. So the actual market for uncollateralized lending using pure cryptocurrency data is relatively small today. It's a small number of users, and the universe of users that have off-chain data, whether it be behavioral, traditional bank, traditional credit bureau, is about 4 billion people. That's the market we're going after. We're going after a market 3.5 billion plus. The other platforms are going after a much smaller market. And I believe strongly that a pure DeFi credit score using pure on-chain data is challenging, because you have a lot of obfuscation of transactions, and really, the pseudonymous nature of crypto transactions means that quite hard to label them and actually build a regression model that predicts the potential risk of default. So us blending that data with off-chain allows us to build them much more quickly than those individuals that are just building a pure decentralized credit score. I think the time window for a pure decentralized credit score is 5 to 10 years. But us bootstrapping like this, you reduce that time to market to months as opposed to years. So yeah, we should actually publish a piece on what our competitive differentiation is, and that will create like a really nice bit of content. So I'll work with Zach on that over the next month or so, and try and get that out so as people can really kind of benchmark us. I would like to hear about tokenomics personally from the first person at Massa. That would be me. We're not going to release any information on tokenomics until we finish legal review. You will see information on tokenomics coming out through our developer docs, and the information that we can provide today will be listed on here. So this is going to kind of go through the Massa token, what it's used for. Like I said, there's more updates coming to this over the weekend, so this will be actually finished and live on Monday next week, and you'll see information on the testnet and what we have available on tokenomics. But what you will find that's been approved by our legal team and we'll do a more in-depth detailed session on that before we do the public launch. So again, I'm making sure that we adhere to our legal requirements, and we'll give you more information on that in the future. Can you list 3 killer features of your project that make it ahead of competitors? Yeah, I think the 3 killer features for us are enabling anyone with a smartphone to create a credit score. You don't have to have an existing credit profile. You can use alternative data. And we have integrations with a platform that myself and perhaps some of the team built over the last 5 years, along with other off-chain data sources. That gives us nice coverage of any platform in the DeFi space when we go live. The second killer feature is the ability for developers to easily build on top of our API. and connect to our other data processing platform through our Oracle network. And then, the third killer feature is, I hope, going to be our smart contract logic, which will allow for any developer to easily launch a liquidity pool and connect that to our API interface. So all of that wrapped up in user experience, really. What we're really focusing on is giving an ease of use experience where people can easily get up and running like that 0 to here 10 minutes, basically. And that's what we're benchmarking ourselves on, is usability first, because some platforms are far too complicated. Okay, a major problem for DeFi is liquidity. Is there a solution for this that you would like to share? I don't actually know if I understand the question. There's many ways I could look at answering that question, like liquidity from the perspective of liquidity pool, liquidity, token liquidity. So I'm going to skip over that question, the next one, because I'm not quite sure how to answer it. One of the important things in blockchain projects is partnerships with VC. Please introduce Masa's partnerships with VCs, which makes everyone think that you're investing in a trusted project. Well, like I said earlier, we'll have a press release coming out through mainstream media over the next month or so, and within that, it will very clearly outline institutional investors. There have been lots of security issues. Are we conducting a security audit? Yes, we'll be conducting a security audit before the protocol goes live. The purpose of the testnet is to have a contained, controlled environment where people can hack. We will have bug bounties and have smart contract auditors going through and auditing the platform. Absolutely. Nothing will be launched until we've done that. Revenue is a very important aspect of projects to survive and maintain the project. What is the income model for Masa? That's a great question. So with Masa, we actually have an income model that is derived from a couple of sources. We're deriving income from referrals that happen to the partners that I mentioned earlier. So when we process a loan application for a partner, there is a fee that is charged on providing the application and the qualified person to that partner. The second thing is if a developer is building on, actually have to, beyond a certain limit, they have to pay for API call on the actual protocol. And then thirdly, the protocol takes a fee from all of the loans and interest accrued through the smart contracts, and it's a small percentage fee, and that goes into a centralized protocol fund. So hopefully that answers your question. Somebody's saying when testnet 2.0. Testnet 2.0 early next week, and it will be incentivized, so that'll be phase 1 of the incentivized testnet. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Some people having issues issues with audio. Okay, great, awesome. I will keep going. Next question was about competitors and competitive advantage. I think I've already covered that. According to my observations of the crypto world, projects that try to interact with the real world unfortunately failed. How do you assess your chances when interacting with the real sector of the economy? Of course, today, the capitalization of cryptocurrencies exists. Today's projects similar to yours exist but have not passed the test of time. So I'm going to try and reinterpret this. So I think that the question means is that lots of crypto companies have tried to get mass adoption. So, has mass adoption happened, and have we seen it fail? How do we think about our chances of reaching mass adoption, and what does mass adoption mean? Mass adoption for me means what we see in Ethereum today. So Ethereum start of mass adoption, where in DeFi we have, I think, 4 million active DeFi wallets. On Bitcoin, it's currently around 77 million active wallets, compared to a population of 7 billion. That's barely anything. So we're still a very, very long way away from it. And what it comes down to for me is user experience. The only way in which we will reach mass adoption is by giving very, very clear and clean user experience, wherein non-crypto native people will find value very easily. And that's what we're striving to do. And I think that when we release our web app and our mobile app, formally out of beta, you should see that user experience really, really clearly defined. And we've been working with a lot of non-crypto people to optimize that. In addition, we do have strong connections into the existing lending space, not just through the team, but also one of our major investors is a big financer of retail lending. So we're definitely in a different time, and it's all about execution. You need to execute on these ideas, and a lot of projects get off the blocks and then don't execute, and that's not what we're doing. We're focusing on execution, which I think you can all see. Let me have a look here. This is a great question. Will DeFi bury banking system? Will it bury it? I mean, I think for some people it will. I think there is a group of people that today are looking to get unbanked, and there is a group of people that are very happy with the bank. Like I said earlier, the ultimate adoption of crypto will be when it's behind everything and provides a very valuable service through a great user experience. And then it stands a chance of disintermediating the banks. But don't be fooled, the banks are moving very quickly. The banks are evolving. And in some instances, to deliver a product like us, you do need banks. From a capital perspective, banks still manage trillions and trillions of dollars of capital. And in order to bring value to the space, you need that capital to flow into DeFi. So I think there's a phase of working together, and there'll be a large segment of the population for which DeFi is buried, and for the other segment of the population, they will be happy using the bank still. So I think it's going to be a blend, and I think it's going to be a healthy blend, and we need each other to survive. Without the banks, we don't have the liquidity, and for all of our sakes in the blockchain space, we need that liquidity to flow into the infrastructure. So yeah, that's my view. And that sort of links up to how do we see the banking system in the next 10 to 20 years. It'll be a hybrid banking system. X% of the population will be crypto native, X% will be hybrid, X% won't give a shit about blockchain, and the rest will use it without even knowing it. Okay, I've already answered that question. So the question was the name of the brand and why do we use the name Masa? Masa is because, I mentioned this earlier, it was the main food that ancient civilizations are built on, and it's a very, very layer. So we believe that our protocol layer is going to form a foundation for building a new economy, new ecosystem, and new world of finance on top of it. Where can I find information about the founders? I think it says foundations, but I'm assuming founders and team. Are you planning to cooperate with anyone else? Tell us a little bit. We gave information about the team on the last AMA. We are not a company that, or we're not a company or a DAO or a blockchain protocol that has a team on a web page. We're slightly pseudonymous. If you find us on LinkedIn, you'll find us, and if you watch our AMAs, you'll see transparently our team. I don't believe in the founder headshots on websites because I think it's not credible. It's the sign of a protocol that's just putting people's names on a website to get publicity. We focus on delivering product to our users, but this information is publicly available in our last AMA where I went through and showed the team. We can actually cover that. Let me just quickly show you. This is our team. I'll pull up the slide from our last AMA. A few people have changed here, but this is what we had in our last AMA. You should be able to see this. This is our core team. There is more people on here now. come from these companies. And then we also have investors and advisors here. So we'll think about doing maybe a feature on the team. And this number is now no longer correct. It's actually 3.5 is what we've raised. So just to be clear. But yeah, happy to share that. We'll share it with the community, but we're just not going to. There's an element of lack of credibility in my mind, being in the space for a long time with companies who just have big team pages. It doesn't mean anything. Greetings. It's great that Brendan is healthy. Thank you. When can we start fully testing the site? The testnet will be next week on version 2, and we're looking at getting some final updates for the web console and the mobile app over the next week or two, and we'll start enrolling people in beta testing through those channels. The mobile app will be available both on iOS and Android, and the web app will be available to everybody. So we've had a few people testing up until now. Most of the bugs have been ironed out, and we're just looking to do a more general release over the next couple of weeks. How long will the testnet run for is the question here. It's actually how long will the network test take? Currently, the testnet will run for as long as we need to be stable and go through security audits. We're looking at finishing our next iteration by the end of March, and at that point we will be reassessing stability and updating the community as to how long it will continue to run. We will be continuing to run the testnet as long as is required to work through regulatory requirements and make sure security is there. It doesn't mean we won't be running test loan pools or liquidity pools. They will just be running on the testnet, not on the live mainnet. And we're not going to rush it. We're going to make sure it's secure before it gets launched. And when it does transition, the entire state of the testnet will transition to the mainnet in one go. Can I receive rewards for the testnet if I take part in the first 2 months? Yes, you can. You most certainly can. I'm going to share my screen again. And for those of you that can't see my screen, this will be made public on Monday. This is information on the incentivized testnet. When you stake, you'll have to submit your node enode. And these are the reward phases. So the first phase is going to be popcorn. I think that was from Luca's suggestion, one of the people on the team. And then there's a rewards pool that splits people that are nodes. We will be asking people to submit a form once they are connected that includes their enode ID, and we'll be taking periodic logs from people to ensure we can monitor uptime. And there's 4 phases. Each phase will run as long as necessary, and those participants will take a share of the rewards pool. And then in each phase, the rewards goes down, leading up until the actual mainnet launch. So we'll release those documents Monday, and you'll be able to understand exactly how the mechanics work, if you can't see the screen right now. Okay. What blockchains will you support? Celo, Ethereum, and then our own blockchain. Am I still here? Oh, wow.
You're still here.
Okay, great. I've got Discord telling me, how did the stream go? Tell us about your streaming experience. That was really weird.
No, you're here.
Yeah, so Celo, Massa's own Geth protocol, and then Ethereum. Beyond that, we will probably look to onboard based on demand. So if we have 20,000 people wanting to use Binance Smart Chain and signing up on a wait list, we'll prioritize that over 10,000 people that are signing up from Matic. Oh no, it's not Matic any longer, it's Polygon now, isn't it? On Polygon, for example. So we will do it on a case-by-case basis and look to have the community vote and propose new connections, or have other developers from other protocols build bridges between our networks. So we're not looking to build everything ourselves. There'll be a developer program where a developer from Cosmos may be able to build a bridge to Masa, and we're going to encourage that. But our focus in-house is on Celo bridging and Ethereum bridging, those two protocols first. Many people want to install a node and run it. When will this happen? How many people can do it? It's going to be unlimited, and new documentation will be out next week, and anyone will be free to participate. Will credit scores be available to all residents or only to certain countries? And I think there was a question in the chat here, which was, somebody said, which markets are you in? Again, the markets that we're in are listed in our dev docs. Coverage will depend on, so here it kind of outlines our supported countries. This is going to be updated because we have coming in that gives us, we've just paused this preview. Your stream is still running. Sorry, Discord's giving me some funny messages. So it'll be dependent on country. This has been our supported country for the current iteration of the app here, that if you found your way to it, you can take it. Currently for bank transaction data with the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Netherlands, France, Spain, this is expanding to global coverage for Android users over the next 3 weeks, and for cryptocurrency users globally, but we're not necessarily offering loans through partners to pure crypto-centric people today. It will be people that use the mobile device, use our alternative scoring, and connect crypto accounts. And you'll start to see this documentation updated over the next couple of weeks as we move towards that global coverage for creating a credit score. And as I showed you earlier with the screenshots of the mobile app, when you connect your data sources, you'll actually get a score generated. And using that score, you'll be able to apply for loans through our partners in different regions. So it'll be the credit score first, and then loans afterwards. And you'll earn rewards for building a credit score, essentially, when it launches. How can I support the project? Sign up to our ambassador program. The link is in general and in announcements. Our team will be able to point you in the direction of it if you can't find it. And we're always looking for developers and people to contribute in bug testing and beta testing. Are you planning any testing in other EU countries in the future? Yes. Once we launch the alternative credit scoring, it'll be global coverage for those people that have an Android device. And just so everyone knows, we're using, at some point, I'll probably publish some content on it. I have another company that's built this technology for the last 5 years. We provide the infrastructure to banks and fintechs in emerging markets, and we're basically plugging that into our protocol to allow kind of global coverage. So we'll be the only protocol in the world that actually has this functionality, which is really cool. Let me have a look. We've only got 4 minutes left, so I want to make sure that I pick some good questions. Okay, do you have any plans to use ZK rollups? Not at the moment, because we're using our own sidechain that is capable of processing quite high numbers of transactions per second, and also supports zero-knowledge smart contracts and zero-knowledge token transfers. So we have private transaction support natively on our own sidechain. We may interface with one of the ZK rollup platforms, but honestly, at the moment, the likes of Arbitrum and others the user experience is not great. You have to wait quite a while to bridge, and I'm not convinced that they're secure right now. So potentially in the future, but it's not on the. We're going to focus on our own technology and building our own infrastructure, which gives us more flexibility and specific technology for our use case. Wow, there's a lot of questions on here. This is great. In total, I have 98 questions, and I think I've gone through about 40. I really appreciate everyone listening to me kind of crushing through these. I think a few people have been asking about like investment and angel investment, please sign up to the form, and once we have legal clarity, we will inform those of you that have submitted what we can do for the community. And we plan to make it as open as we can for participation, without having all VCs in. We want to have our community able to invest early on before a public sale at this stage. Once we have more information, we'll share it with you, but just please sign up to that wait list, and don't get wrecked if we have another down cycle. I'm going to pause there, Zach. Were there any other questions, or do you want to kind of wrap? If I keep going, I'm going to answer one more question. There's somebody who had, when is my birthday? Do I have pets? My birthday is in December, so it was last year, and I do have pets. I have 2 wonderful cats. Their names are James and Bond, and next time I will share some pictures of them. They're great cats. This has been great. Zach, I'll let you wrap up if you want to.
Thanks, Brendan. Really appreciate your time in answering all those questions. I know there were others that we didn't get to in the hour. Myself and my colleague Rob are going to go through those and see if we can answer those on a blog post in FAQ kind of form. The other thing that I wanted to do was celebrate some of the creativity in this community across some meme awards. I've heard that people are having issues with screen share, so Rob and I are going to figure out about doing that on a different date sometime next week. And the other thing, we're going to be rolling with these AMAs on a monthly basis, and it's clear that we've outgrown Discord. We wanted to run these on this platform, given that's where everyone's most active. But we'll be moving to probably Twitch next time round, which will give us a little more bandwidth. You can see our faces. We won't have any issues with screen sharing. So for the next one, look out for, you'll have plenty of lead up, and we'll let you know in the channels, but look out for a Twitch link where we'll host these. And yeah, just wanted to say thank you for everyone. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you for all the community members that helped organize and set this up. I hope these are helpful. Throw out any feedback in the general channel directed at myself or any of the community members. If you would like to see us present different things or run these differently, we're all ears. We're here to kind of support you and keep you guys informed. So I hope this was helpful, and we'll have another one very soon.
Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to getting new documentation out Monday. Thanks, Zach. Cheers, everyone else, for helping organize, and have a wonderful Friday.